communication process and problems. Assalamu alaikum. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Yuni Rizky Wardiah from TBI-1. This my final task in a sociolinguistic subject. Guided by our lecturer, Dr. Sholi Hachil Hamidadoli, M.Hum. So now we go to my explanation. Communication process and problems. The definition of communication. Communication is the shared exchange of truths, considerations and insights produced by the mutual understanding of all parties, and it mainly involves two or more people. These are not violent messages, nor do they imply consent. It can be a mutual identifier organized by thoughts, including socio-psychological aspects such as considerations and feelings. According to American Management Association, communication is as any behavior that result in an exchange of meaning. And according to Brown, communication is the transmission and interchange of facts, ideas, feeling or courses of action. Types of communication. 1. Verbal communication. 2. Nonverbal communication. 3. Written communication. 4. Verbal communication is a form of oral communication in which information is conveyed through oral language, and the sender expresses his feelings, thoughts, ideas and opinions, and expresses them in the form of speeches, discussions, presentations and dialogues. Verbal communication. Verbal communication is a form of oral communication in which information is conveyed through oral language, and the sender expresses his feelings, thoughts, ideas and opinions, and expresses them in the form of speeches, discussions, presentations and dialogues. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is the process of conveying meaning without using written or oral language. Written communication. Written communication is the process of using written symbols to convey information, that is, any information exchanged in written words between two or more people is called written communication. Visualization. Visual communication is to convey ideas through the visual presentation of information. Mainly involves 2D images, including alphanumeric characters, art, characters and electronic resources. The latest research in this field focuses on web design and graphic usability. Part of communicarian sender. The sender or the communicator is the person who initiates the conversation and has conceptualized the idea that he intends to convey it to others. Encoding. The sender begins with the encoding process wherein he uses certain words or nonverbal methods such as symbols, signs, body gestures, etc. Message. Once the encoding is finished, the sender gets the message that he intends to convey. Communication channel. The sender chooses the medium through which he wants to convey his message to the recipient receiver. The receiver is the person for whom the message is intended or targeted. Decoding. Here, the receiver interprets the sender's message and tries to understand it in the best possible manner. Feedback. The feedback is the final step of the process that ensures the receiver has received the message and interpreted it correctly as it was intended by the sender. The recipient can be verbal or nonverbal. 1. Not truly listening. When we are communicating with someone, we often are not committing our full attention. We might be looking at our phones, watching television, or even daydreaming about something else. 2. Assuming you know the message before the person finishes. We've all done it. We're listening to a friend speak, and we already assume we know what is going to be said before they finish their sentence. 3. Interrupting the speaker. We've probably all interrupted another person mid-sentence once or twice. It can happen accidentally, or we may get so excited about what we want to say and fear we will forget our response if we don't just go ahead and say it. Others may interrupt during arguments as a power move. 4. Using you statements instead of I statements. When we are discussing our feelings with another person, we need to own those feelings rather than place the responsibility on the other person. It can be easy to say, "You did this" or "You didn't do that." When we use I statements, we take ownership of how we feel and are less likely to make the other person feel attacked. Instead of saying, "You didn't call me back," try saying, "I felt hurt when you didn't return my call." 5. Letting your emotions dictate your response. When we react emotionally, we are likely to say things we don't mean. A good communicator allows emotions to sit for a while and then chooses to carefully respond rather than react. 6. Failing to account for cultural differences in communication. Cross-cultural communication can be difficult. Words can take on different meanings, and cultural norms surrounding nonverbal communication may vary. When communicating with people from other cultural backgrounds, it's important to account for cultural differences in communication styles. If we don't, we may accidentally offend or miscommunicate with someone. 7. Misinterpreting the message. We may misinterpret others more often than we think. To avoid this, it is best to give the person our full attention and paraphrase the message back to the speaker to ensure we have understood correctly. In today's society, we are more susceptible to misinterpretation, as we rely heavily on technological communication. Without tone of voice and nonverbal cues, it can be easy to misunderstand each other. When using text or email communication, be sure to use appropriate punctuation and ask clarifying questions to ensure you understand the other person. 8. Being indirect. Being subtle and/or indirect in communication is usually ineffective. We can't expect other people to read our minds. If you want someone to understand you, try being direct and try not to beat around the bush in conversation. 9. Attacking character rather than behavior. When we are upset with someone, it is easy to say things such as, "You're a jerk" or "You're an idiot." Rather than attack someone's character, an effective communicator should address the actual behavioral issue and leave it at that. 10. Avoiding difficult conversations. When faced with the possibility of a difficult conversation, many people choose to avoid or prolong the conversation as long as possible. People usually perceive a conversation as difficult when they are faced with telling someone something that person doesn't want to hear. It might be delivering bad news or bringing up a conflict of interest. The method to overcome these problems. 1. Use of simple languages. The use of simple language should be emphasized. The focus should be on using simple and clear words. Ambiguous words and jargon should be avoided. 2. Reduce and eliminate noise levels. Noise is the main communication barrier that must be overcome first. Noise source and eliminate it. 3. Listen actively. Listen carefully. There is a difference between listening and listening. Active listening means listening with the correct understanding of the sound information. By asking questions, the speaker can ensure that his message is understood by the recipient as the speaker's intention. 4. Emotional state. During communication, one should make effective use of body language. He or she should not show their emotions while communication, as the receiver might misinterpret the message being delivered. 5. Constructive feedback leads to effective communication between speaker and audience. 6. Appropriate media selection. Simple information should be communicated verbally, such as interactive or face-to-face meetings. The use of written media to convey complex messages should be encouraged. For meaningful messages, reminders can be provided through written communication methods such as memos and message significations such as memos, notices, etc. 7. Clear what you think. You need to be clear about your purpose and what you want to convey. Arrange your ideas in the correct order and communicate accordingly. Okay guys, that's all my explanation. Wassalamu alaikum.